Hello guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel, A Little Bit of Everything, where I talk about a little bit of everything. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Beyonce's acting debut on the straight-to-DVD MTV movie, Carmen, a hip hopera. I was originally going to be making a video taking a look at all of Beyonce's filmography and ranking it, and I might still do it. But when I first started watching her first movie, I wasn't so much shocked because I had never heard of this movie. I had never seen anyone mention this movie anywhere. I had never even seen scenes of it. I had seen a photo of Beyonce wearing a dress that she wears on the movie, but I always assumed that it was like a photo from a music video or something, and never thought about it further. I have heard of every other Beyonce movie, but just not this one. So I was very surprised when I found out that it existed, and then I started watching it, and I just couldn't stop writing. So I decided to just make a whole video based on it because I think more people need to know about the existence of this movie. You guys are invited to watch it and tell me what you guys think of it. It's completely free here on YouTube. I had never heard of this movie, like I said, and I went into it completely blind. I didn't read like a description of it, nothing. So yeah, it was definitely a trip because it was not what I was expecting. With all that being said, let's get into the video. So the movie starts with this rap verse that I think is like a little explanation of what the movie is going to be about, but if I'm totally honest with you, I don't know if it's that because I didn't really pay attention to it. After this, we meet our male lead. His name is Derek and he's a cop, and he is in a police car with his friend who's also a cop, whose name I don't remember, and his friend is inviting him to a party to hang out with some girls, but Derek says no because Derek has a fiance, which why would you even do that? Like, why would you even try to like get your friend to cheat on their fiance? After this, we meet the villain, another cop, Lieutenant Miller. He is basically a corrupt cop and he doesn't like Derek and is always trying to make his life a living hell. We first see him in the scene where he's like working with a drug dealer that is played by Jermaine Dupri. The drug dealer has to like give him money, I guess. And the scene is edited in a really weird way. I guess they did it to like try and make it more dramatic and try and make it seem like there was going to be a shootout or they were going to get arrested or something. But I actually thought that my internet had stopped working, but no, it's just a very shitty effect. After this, they're both called to make an arrest for this car that I think was stolen. For some reason, Bow Wow, whose character's name I don't remember, is in the car and he's telling the guy that is driving to just let him off. So when he does, he starts running and Miller and Derek are chasing after him. And Miller and his cop friend get him and plant drugs on him. Derek sees him doing this and tries to stop him, but like ultimately there's nothing he can do because Miller is his superior, so he just has to like suck it in and arrest Bow Wow. We move forward a couple hours and it's now nighttime and they're all at this bar where we see Derek's fiance and where Beyonce and her character Carmen make their first appearance. And she shows up and she's rapping, which at first I remember thinking that it was so random because her character is supposed to be an actress, not a musician. And she's basically rapping about how she's so hot and she's a baddie and all the men want her. And Miller and his friend are rapping at her about how much they want her. And it's quite a long scene. I think it's kind of like 2 or 3 minutes long. I'm probably exaggerating, but it felt like it was 3 minutes long. After this, Derek and his fiance have their own little rap battle because she wants him to quit the force once they get married and have kids, and he doesn't want to do it. So she's like telling him like, you need to quit, you're gonna get killed, and he is telling her, I have to be a cop, I can't quit, I love my job, it's great. And this is the part where I realized that the movie is a musical. Like I said, I was very surprised and like confused as to why Beyonce's character was rapping, because she's supposed to be an aspiring actress and not a musician. But at this scene, it's like all my light bulbs went up and I was like, oh, right. Yeah, this makes sense. It's a musical. That's why she was rapping. And the name also kind of makes sense. something that I would like to highlight are 3 lyrics from the rap battle between Derek and his fiance. He tells her, wouldn't live in Berlin in post-war Germany. Okay? She says, I love you more than a slave, love the thought of being free. And then he ends the whole thing by saying, only emergency is me and you inside the bedroom with urgency. I mean, I don't even know what to say about those lyrics. They're really bad. After this, we go back to Carmen, and she's having a physical fight, the worst acted physical fight, with this other lady that was at the bar with her boyfriend, because her boyfriend is like flirting with Carmen or whatever, and they break some stuff. So the bar owner decides to press charges only against Carmen for some reason, and Derek is forced to arrest her. He doesn't want to do it because he wanted to spend the night with his fiance, but Miller forces him to arrest her. And so Carmen tries to flirt with him and seduce him so that he won't take her to jail. They, of course, have a rap battle about it. Yeah, obviously. Where she's like trying to tell him, like, you want me, I'm better than your girl, leave her, let's have sex, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I'm not interested, I don't like women like you. Eventually, she convinces him to take her to her house so that she can put away this ring that her grandmother gave her so it doesn't get lost when, she goes to jail. So he takes her to her house, and when they get to her house, she has like a bunch of inspirational quotes in photo frames, and she has a bunch of books about acting splattered everywhere. So she and Derek start talking about it. And at this point, Derek is in the living room of her apartment and she's in her bedroom. And the audio in this part sounds really, really bad. It sounds kind of like they only had one microphone and they decided to keep the microphone on the room where Derek is at and have Beyoncé just like scream her lines so that the mic would pick it up kind of clearly. And it doesn't sound good at all. It sounds really, really bad.
So I take it you want to be an actress?
More than anything. What about you?
Me is none of your business.
Well, you always wanted to be a cop. Am I right?
Yeah, I always wanted to make a difference.
I get to know that you are different.
Now let's hurry up.
I saw that when I saw you at Lou's.
Standing next to my fiance at the bar.
Eventually, Derek tells Carmen to hurry up, that they have to leave, and he goes into her bedroom and she's in her pajamas. She starts singing, still trying to seduce him, and he ends up falling for it, so they have sex. The next morning, he wakes up and he's alone in the house. She's disappeared. Miller is in the front door, ready to arrest him for sleeping with Carmen, because I'm sure that's illegal. I think that's a crime. Like, officers cannot just have sex with people they arrest. And he didn't even take her to jail. And now she's on the run, presumably. So, yeah, that was not okay. And on top of that, his fiance also shows up because I think Miller calls her. And she ends up slapping him and breaking up with him. So it's all really bad for Derek's life. He's lost everything he loved because he's an idiot. Some days or weeks go by and we see Carmen in her living room with her friends and they're talking about everything that happened. She tells her friends that the bar owner decided to drop the charges against her and then she now just has to like pay for the damages that she made, and that she and Derek are basically in a relationship and she's like waiting for him to come out and she's writing him letters and stuff. And in that moment she sends him a letter, he receives it in jail, and he starts rapping about how much he loves Carmen and how much he wants to be with her. And Bow Wow and the drug dealer played by Jermaine Dupri are there. I don't know why is Bow Wow there. Like, okay, he committed a crime and he went to jail, he got arrested, but he's like 10. Why is he in the same cells as grown-ass men? Nonetheless, they're rapping, they're going back and forth, and then Derek has this fight with another inmate, and I don't even understand what that was about. They don't explain it. I don't know if Derek was the one who arrested that guy, or if they had beef, like, when they were in the prison, or if that guy had something with Carmen. Like, I don't know what that fight was about because they do not explain it at all. But they have a little fight and nothing happens. Like, they get separated and that's it. Going back to Carmen, she goes to this party with her friends. She sees Miller there and they have, a little back and forth about Derek's arrest. And then she meets Blaze. Blaze is a singer slash rapper that is like very famous and very successful. He starts flirting with her and ends up asking her like what her dreams are, what does she want to do, and she tells him that she wants to move to LA because she wants to be an actress. So he invites her to LA and tells her that, you know, once she gets there, he's going to help her, and he also invites her friends. Carmen decides not to go because she's waiting for Derek, but she tells her friends to go and wait for her and tells them that, you know, in 2 weeks she's going to be there with them. And after this comes my favorite scene in the entire movie. It's a rap scene between Carmen and her two friends. The rap is super corny and the editing is absolutely insane. This editing made no sense to me when it came on because so far none of the scenes have been edited like this. This scene really hooked me into the movie. I decided to start enjoying this movie for the bad that it was at this point. A few weeks go by. I'm guessing that it's been 2 weeks because Carmen says that she would be in LA in 2 weeks and she's waiting for Derek to get out. So I'm gonna guess it's been 2 weeks. Derek gets out and he breaks into her house to like surprise her and stuff. And then the next day, Carmen tells him that they should move to LA to start fresh and that they should move that same day. And Derek is like, no, we can't do that because I have probation and I can't leave the state for a year. So Carmen gets really, really upset. And of course they start rapping. And Carmen is like, you don't love me, you're not trying, you this, you that, you and the other. And he's trying to explain to her like, I can't go right now. It's not even that he doesn't want to go. He agrees to going, but he just can't do it in the moment. And like, what else is he supposed to do? I'm sure that if he breaks his probation, he would have to go to jail again. And maybe there is some way in which he could legally go to another state. Like maybe he can talk to his probation officer or something. But I'm pretty sure that that would be like a hard sell. So I don't know. I think she's just being over the top for no reason. I understand that it's her dream, but she decided to date someone that was in prison. So this is now her life. This is the consequences of her actions. So anyways, like I said, they are rapping back and forth. The editing is horrible. The lyrics are corny. We already know that. He ends up telling her that he can't go with her to LA, and she goes into her room really, really angry about it. So Derek ends up leaving the house and he goes to the bar where they met, and he comes across Miller and they have a little back and forth of words. Miller says something inappropriate about Carmen, so Derek punches him, and now, you know, he's gonna get arrested again because he punched an officer. So he ends up running away and going to Carmen's house and telling her to like pack everything up because they are going to leave to LA right now. I don't think he tells her that he's on the run. I don't think he explains that to her, at least not like in the movie. Maybe he explains it off screen, but not on the movie. So I think she doesn't know that that's why they're leaving. But they edit the scene of them running away in a similar way that they edited the scene between Carmen and her friends. And again, one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. I loved every second of it. And over it, I'm not gonna play the audio because it's gonna get copyrighted, but over it, there's this rap verse that is playing over the instrumental of Survivor by Destiny's Child, and it sounds horrible, but I loved every second of it. Once Derek and Carmen get to LA, they have to stay in this ugly and dirty motel because obviously they don't have that much money. But Derek is like, don't worry, we're gonna get jobs soon, so don't worry about it, we're not gonna be here for a long time. He ends up going to try and get jobs, and everywhere he goes, he's getting turned down. He eventually goes to this place where they ask him for his ID because they want to run a background check on him. I don't think he gives them the ID, or maybe he does, I'm not sure. But they end up eventually finding out that he's a criminal and that he's on the run. And they threaten him and tell him that, you know, they're gonna call the LAPD. Carmen, on the other hand, is going to auditions and it's not working out for her. She goes for this one audition where one of the people doing the audition, a white lady, tells her that she has to act more urban, and then Carmen ends up not getting the part. So they both go back to the motel and they start arguing because neither of them is making any money. You know, she's angry because he doesn't have a job, and he's also upset because she doesn't have a job. So they start rapping, of course. And the editing here is more boring than my two favorite scenes. They just have like the screen turn red whenever she raps and the screen turn blue when he raps. It looks ridiculous. She decides to like go out for a walk to clear up her mind. And I want you guys to take a look at this scene. Look at it. She's supposed to be walking down the street and then coming across her friends, but she's literally just standing in the middle of the sidewalk, and then she turns around and there they are. Like, they didn't even try to have her like pretend that she was walking. Anyways, Carmen and her friend decide to go to this card reader, and when they get there, they get their cards read, and we have another little editing mistake. Like, look at this. She sits on this chair, and then they cut to obviously the same scene but from another take, and it's a few seconds behind. Anyways, when they're getting their cards read, her friends get like success and abundance and like all good things. Meanwhile, Carmen gets sorrow, ruin, and death. It's not looking out good for our girl. It's really not. Originally, like, the guy that was reading their cards didn't want to tell her what her future was because like it wasn't good. So she like rips the cards from him and reads it herself, and then she throws the cards in the air and they fall in a very dramatic fashion with very ugly, bad early 2000s CGI. I loved it. It was fun. She ends up running away from this place because she's rapping in this scene, by the way, and then she ends up running away because she's like, I need to get everything together, I need to do all my things because I have a short time, I'm going to die soon, so if I'm going to be successful, I need to do it right now. So she decides to go to meet with Blaze because her friends had told her that Blaze wanted to see her, and so she goes, she sees him, he invites her to be his date for a concert, and she agrees. Back in Philly, I hadn't mentioned this, but yeah, they're from Philly. Back in Philly in the police station, they say that there's going to be a shakedown of corrupt officials. So Miller is very stressed out because Derek saw him planting drugs on somebody else. So if he were to say that, it could be a problem. So he's trying to find Derek, and he first goes and talks to his ex-girlfriend, who tells him that she doesn't know anything and that she hasn't talked to Derek since they break up. And then he goes to Derek's friend, the other police officer, and offers him money, and the dude just tells him everything. But his ex is a good person, so she ends up calling him and telling him that Miller is looking for him and that he needs to leave LA. When Carmen gets home, he tells her, like, you know, we haven't had a good time here, we haven't had jobs, so maybe we should go somewhere else. Again, he's not telling her the real reason, and I don't think he ever actually tells her why they have to go. I don't think she knows that he's on the run, basically. But he tells her that. And Carmen is like, no, I'm not leaving. I want to be in LA. I have to stay in LA. If you want to leave, that's fine, but I'm not going anywhere. And then they collide, and her tickets for the concert fall, and she tells him, like, I'm going to the concert with Blaze. So this relationship was fun and all, but I'm not doing this anymore. Goodbye. After this, she goes to her friend's house, and she is in the bathtub talking with Blaze, and then she hangs up the phone. She gets out of the bathtub because she's gonna talk to her friends, and this stereo falls on the bathtub and it explodes. Anyways, Derek doesn't leave the city immediately, so he sees Carmen and Blaze on TV. So he decides that he's going to go to the concert and he's going to try and convince Carmen to leave the city with him. And he tells his friend this information, and then his friend tells Miller. So when the concert comes, obviously Carmen goes there with Blaze. Derek shows up and he just walks past security, like they don't ask him anything. I don't think they even see him. But immediately after, Miller gets to the venue and he basically alerts the security people that Derek is there and that he's on the run and that they need to get him and arrest him. So Derek gets backstage where Carmen is at, and they start talking, and he's trying to convince her that she should leave with him and all this. Meanwhile, Miller is like standing above them and he's pointing a gun at Derek. But what happens, he shoots, and he shoots Carmen. No one realizes, by the way, that a gun has been shot because he had a silencer. So no one realizes anything. Miller then tries to shoot at Derek, but he runs out of bullets. So Derek lays Carmen on the floor and then goes after Miller. And no one realizes that Carmen is now on the floor. And I don't understand why. Her friends and a bunch of staff from the concert were standing right next to her. But now all of a sudden, everybody is blind and no one can see that she's missing. So Derek goes after Miller and they're running, and then Miller points his gun at Derek and he stops running towards him. I don't know why. We already established that he doesn't have any more bullets. But okay, they start fighting, like having a physical fight, and Derek ends up pushing Miller off of the stand, the place where they're standing. They're above the stage, and Miller falls onto the stage while Blaze is performing. Carmen's friends realize that she's on the floor, dead, and that's the end of the movie. Yeah, that's the end of the movie. They say on the news that Derek killed Carmen and Miller because they were having an affair, and he obviously gets arrested. And that's the end. And then we get a final rap verse from the same lady who opened the movie, and then that's it. That's Carmen, a hip hopera. That's Beyonce's acting debut. Honestly, the last 10 or so minutes of the movie were the only parts that I would say are actually completely unironically entertaining, because I wanted to know, and I was not sure if Carmen and Derek would actually break up, or if she would end up with Blaze, or if she would actually die, or what was going to happen. I was very invested in like the last 10 to 15 minutes of the movie because I was genuinely curious and didn't have an idea of how this movie was going to end. Everything else is whatever. The romance in this movie is whack. I know that it's common for a romance in this type of movies to move really fast, but I just don't know anything about this couple. I feel like they don't know each other. Like, they meet, right? He has to arrest her. He cheats on his fiance with her, goes to jail. I am guessing that while they were sending each other cards, they got to know each other more, but we didn't really see any of that, so doesn't really matter. Then he comes home, he's gonna get arrested again, so they go on the run, and then they spend the rest of the movie fighting until they break up, and then she dies. It's really whack. Like, it's boring. I'm not invested in this relationship. Also, Beyonce and the actor don't have any chemistry at all. They look very stiff, both of them, and kind of awkward. I don't like the romance aspect of this movie because I'm not buying it. I know that this happens to some people. Some people fall in love in a matter of hours and days and get married without really knowing anything about the other person, but I'm not a fan of that story. That's not the type of love story that I like to see in my movies. I like to see some development from the characters within the relationship. As for the acting, I don't think the acting was horrible. It's not the worst thing I've seen in my life. This is not The Room type acting, but it wasn't great. I think everybody was like on the same level. Everybody was equally as good or bad. The standout performance to me was from the guy that plays Miller. I think he was the only person who really embodied their character, but that's it. Everybody else was meh. Everybody else was okay, including Beyonce. She didn't do horrible. I know that Beyonce gets a lot of shit for her acting, which is why I wanted to do my original video, just like looking at all her movies and ranking them. But it wasn't horrible. It was not the worst thing I've seen in my life. You know what I mean? I think that Beyonce, when it comes to her acting, she has a really hard time expressing emotions like happiness or sadness or anger. She doesn't know how to make it look natural. But yeah, her acting wasn't atrocious. It was not the worst thing I've seen in my life. And now what was horrible was the editing, okay? The editing was really bad. Like I mentioned earlier, the scene where they're at her house for the first time sounds horrible. The audio mixing is not it. Like I said, it sounds like they only had one mic and they had it in one room, and then the other person was just screaming their lines so that the mic could pick it up. The transitions were tacky. They had a lot of cuts, especially during the rap scenes. Like they would have a cut to a face, and then a wide shot, and then a long shot, and then a shot of the room, and then a shot of the other person, and then a shot of the person who's rapping. It was a lot very quickly. They would also have like a glossy effect over most of the rap scenes. Something like, I don't know if you guys watched the first season of RuPaul's Drag Race, but that and the rap scenes, it doesn't look good. I don't know, I think they just did too much. Maybe they were trying to make it look dynamic in like a music video in the rap parts, because most of this bad editing comes from the rap verses. Everything else is kind of okay, except for, you know, the little mistakes here and there. but I think they were trying to make it look like a music video maybe, but it just doesn't look good. So yeah guys, that is my little review and recap of Carmen, a hip opera, Beyonce's acting debut. Let me know if you've ever watched this movie. Like, have you ever heard of this before this video? Are you going to watch it if you haven't? Like I said, it's free here on YouTube, so you can watch it and have the time of your life. I think that if you like bad movies, like I like bad movies that are bad accidentally. Like, I don't believe that anyone that was making this movie thought, oh yeah, well, let's make something that's really ugly and bad. I think they really wanted it to be a success, and it just wasn't. And those are my type of bad movies. I like bad movies that are supposed to be good. Everybody's putting their heart into them, but it just doesn't work out. That's the type of bad movies I like. If you like those type of movies, then you should watch this. If you don't, then don't, because you're gonna have a miserable time. Let me know what you think of this movie, and let me know if you would be interested in that video that I said I was going to make, ranking all of Beyonce's movies. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.